Lancaster Select Board for April the 3rd, 9 a.m. A reminder that this meeting is being recorded and our friends from SLC TV are here, so I'm assuming we'll air at some point there as well. Before that, do a roll call. Mr. Allison, I caught just while I was drinking. He's here, although muted. Ms. Turner.
Here.
Mr. Kerrigan here. Okay, so we're all present and accounted for. So Kate, I'm going to do my best to try to summarize why we're here, and then you're going to make it make sense. Make sense? Okay. So at some point after our meeting last week, when we closed the warrant and moved the override question to the ballot for May 8th, you, in your due diligence, as you always do, discovered somewhat arcane bit of town code or bylaw that we adopted a while back that requires us to meet within a certain amount of time and approve language a certain amount of time after an initiative is put on the ballot to approve language because it requires the town to say very clearly on the ballot what a yes vote means and what a no vote means. Is that accurate? And so we're doing this meeting now to have that conversation because we are running up against the timeline. This is not something that all towns do. It was something that apparently we adopted at some point, less than 20 years ago, but a while back. Did I do a decent job of summarizing it?
Yep. So effectively what happened is I was actually having a conversation with Jason regarding what we can and can't do and what he can and can't do in his capacity as a select board member for here's what yes means, here's what no means. And I had said that I recalled back when I was in school learning that local officials are not allowed by law to publish voter information unless there's a caveat to that. And I said that I didn't remember it off the top of my head, so I would look into it. And so on Wednesday, I looked up that very statute, which, let me bring it up. So this Prop 2.5 ballot questions, this is sort of the primer that is from the Division of Local Services. And on page 9 of the primer, it goes, sorry, getting there.
You passed 9.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
That's 10 there, 9 is there. Keep going. There you go.
Oh, because it's 6. Sorry.
Well, 9 upside down.
Local officials may not publish or provide unless we have adopted this particular statute. So what's interesting about this is not only is it here that if you clicked on this statute, you'd be brought, there's a footnote here, and then there's one right here that Lancaster in 2004 adopted special legislation which went through that actually has a very different, very clear different set of circumstances of which we are supposed to abide by. And this is the article which we found in the archives, Article 17 of the 2004. It was a special town meeting, and this is the article, and it was Steve Hilliger, Joanne Foster, and Alex. And so effectively what this does is it requires that the board in a perfect world, we would have had ballot committees. We have now since run out of time for that. So a ballot committee to champion the yes and one ballot committee to champion the no. It only insofar as to educate people about what that means, and then have a very brief, less than 250 word statement put on to the ballot. So the deal is that the ballot, we were getting ready to go to print, and clearly I wasn't aware of this provision that was adopted in 2004. And so I'm glad that I found it, because the ballot would not have been accurate. So we're meeting here so that you all can determine best steps for a yes and a no person. I can certainly write it. We can charge counsel with writing it. Again, the problem is we're sort of finding this at the 11th hour, which is good that we did. But we need time to have the ballots printed and received. So we don't know if we could have a whole committee that, is
Right.
opining on this.
What's the time frame we're looking at? End of the week or something? Like, what's the?
Yeah, so so the Lancaster's rules say that we need to have a yes and a no at least 14 days prior to the vote, and that you need to determine who is going to be championing, the person or the committee of people for a yes and no 7 days after you decide on the language. So that's why we're at 9 a.m. this morning, because you decided on the language at noon-ish last Monday. And I found it Wednesday, and so that gave us 48 hours to call the meeting for this morning. So, I can certainly write the one line and work with counsel. I talked with counsel at the end of last week, because this was new information for me, and so they did some digging too. They didn't know either. I mean, we don't know every act that was ever
Right.
submitted. So
Right.
anyway, so we're working through this, but I would think that now that we know this, anytime there's going to be a ballot question, we should probably think long and hard about having the ballot camps and companies, groups of persons. So, but right now we're dealing with what's in front of us. So
Right.
today you have to make that decision. And my suggestion would be that we have whatever the statement is back by no later than Friday. Call another special meeting so that you all can approve the language, and then we have to bring it to the printer. And I would say Friday is the last possible day to ensure that we have the ballots printed in time for the May 8th election.
Can I ask a question? Which I usually hate when people say, "Can I ask a question?" Because of course you can. Anyway, does this apply only to, so we have that non-binding question. I'm assuming does that apply for that as, would the ranked choice voting pick? I'm assuming it doesn't apply to non-binding things, just really to.
It would be, so the other question is technically like a second ballot that is an
Right, it's not the
unofficial
main,
ballot.
yeah. Okay, got it.
If
Okay,
we were
good.
to put it on
On the
this
actual
ballot,
town ballot, right?
yeah, then it would, correct.
Yeah, okay. Well, first, thanks for finding it, and thanks for flagging it as quickly as you did. I agree with you. It's unfortunate we didn't know about it sooner, because we could have had those ballot committees. With that, I can throw it to my colleagues to see if Alex, you were here when this was written. Do you have any thoughts on how to proceed on next steps for yes and no? Did you remember this, or I'm just
Yes,
curious?
yes, and maybe too selectively. I guess I thought I had discussed it, but at any rate, we are where we're at. I didn't know what the meeting was today for. In fact, I didn't even know we were having a meeting until I saw it on the calendar. So I'm not prepared to just, to figure out who the committee is or what to do today.
Yeah.
But I understand that there's urgency to do this, and Kate feels Friday is the best deadline.
So you knew about this and you didn't flag it for us when we were doing the ballot last week?
My understanding, yes, I do remember it and know about it. And I thought that I did say something, but I think we need to have, because I have a lot of concerns, to be honest with you, that maybe I can go back over with Kate or you at some point, but let's deal with this. Kate, is Friday enough time? I mean, it doesn't give so much time for committees to get organized.
Alex, this is a lot.
Yeah, I'll say there's no time for committees. I think we have to assign a yes and a no.
The regulation said that it's required 7 days after you all determined the ballot, and so you're saying you did remember? But
You knew it
I
and you
don't
didn't flag it
understand.
for us? What would have happened, Kate? What would have happened had we
I didn't
not?
know about this business. When I said that we have this bylaw, this was the financial control bylaw and everything else that came out of the last override. And I
No,
referred to that during our
this
forum.
is not a bylaw. This is a special act that
I'm
was.
sorry. So I misspoke. I referred to it as a bylaw, but we accepted an MGL.
No. No, this is,
Well, then I'm
this is
mistaken.
separate than that.
I'm sorry. I thought we accepted an MGL. What is it? What is it, Kate? Just clarify, please, because I'm wrong.
It's a special act of 2004 that is in the camp of the GL 53 18B, but Lancaster had its own language that was put in so that within 7 days of the board approving the ballot language, you would have had to basically name a yes and a no groups. And
So
that was
detail I
literally
didn't.
never mentioned.
Now, when we talked about sending out pros and cons and doing all that, that's what I was referring to, perhaps too subtly. But that is, I did not remember the details of within 7 days. That was 20 years ago. And I felt old when you called it arcane, Steve, but thank you. But at any rate, so certainly we don't have time for a committee. But we need to be able to get this written in a fair and impartial way. So that would have to be set to somebody else. I prefer not to use counsel because our legal costs are high, and they would have to familiarize themselves with the whole budget to be effective. Maybe the finance committee or somebody from that. You're muted, Steve.
My suggestion be that Kate writes the yes and Cheryl writes the no, and then we take a look at it on Friday.
I think it's a policy document, so I think that we
Right,
should.
and that's what we would approve the, right, I mean, you're welcome to write the no, and I can draft the yes if you want, but my guess is if it's a policy document, we as the policymakers would then approve the language.
Well,
But it's just that we might not have time this week to draft the language, and the staff might. I mean, they probably don't, but now that we know about it, we have to. So
yeah, somebody has to. I would suggest that rather than tying up staff time, if we can, that we should reach out to, and as I said, I didn't realize, I guess we found this out last week. I didn't know about it, but we could reach out to finance, would be the most logical one.
Just to be clear, because you keep saying that, like, I found out about it on Wednesday and then asked to call a meeting. I couldn't.
That's fine.
I can't deliberate with you all based on this. So
No. I understand that.
it wasn't that anybody was trying to hide it. It was
no. I understand that. I didn't even know we had a meeting. So, but that's that.
how did you not? I mean, we were on a, well, never mind. I won't debate that.
I just didn't get noticed, but I saw it and I'm happy I did. So we can talk about things now. So let's, I think we should reach out to the finance committee, and I think we should probably at least take a stab and certainly get reviewed by Cheryl and Kate.
But the thing is, they would have to call a meeting. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can't just pick one of them. They've got to call a meeting and assign
understand.
one of them to do.
I mean, if it's going to be from the committee, if it's going to be from one member, but I don't know. And also they voted in favor for the override. So I don't know how they could craft.
Well, we all did. I mean, that was the, so.
Right. That's why I'm saying, so I'm obviously not advocating for spending, huge amounts of money, but we would have to, I guess, effectively find somebody that is believing that they might vote no. And I just don't know whether that's appropriate and proper right now.
So is the language that we have to explain what a yes vote means?
Yeah, what a yes vote means
or
and
what
what a
the
no
impact
vote means. Yep.
So it can be as simple as a yes vote means it allows us to levy more resources to pay the deficit, and the no vote doesn't, which would then require cuts to our budget to the tune of $1.1 million.
Yeah, so just so you know, the statute that was written in Lancaster's bill was the full text of each question, a fair and concise summary of each question, including a one-sentence statement describing the effect of a yes or no vote, which will be prepared by the city solicitor, town council, or select board or their designee, and then arguments for and against each question no later than 7 days before the election, blah, 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 blah.
So, Kate, where does that yes, no have to be? We were going to send out a card or a warrant. So that would be the obvious place. Does it have to appear on the ballot itself?
That's the yes, that's
Yeah.
what Lancaster.
All right. Okay.
adopted.
And so that's what you were talking about was the printing. Why the ballot? So the ballots have to be printed.
Right, we were sending the ballots to be printed last week, and then I said, stop.
Okay.
We could meet.
Okay. I've lost track. When is the last day for candidates to withdraw? Have we passed that?
To withdraw, I mean,
To withdraw from race, because usually we don't print until after that. So it's have we passed the last date for candidates to withdraw from races?
we can ask the town clerk.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Because usually we don't print until after that date, but at any rate, so you think that Friday, based on your discussions, you think Friday is enough time?
Yeah, that's what she said. Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, it is, if it's going to be done by either this board or staff, and to be
Last day to withdraw your nomination papers is Wednesday.
It's coming up Wednesday?
This Wednesday, April 5th.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's good we didn't send them out. So let's think about, so that's fine. I would like to have perhaps.
I don't think anything's good about the fact that we're in this situation, but yeah. Just
Well,
to be clear.
it's good that we didn't print the ballot before the last day to withdraw is what I was saying. So let's have, your suggestion was Kate write the pro and Cheryl write the con.
No, direct the yes and the no, because they're not. I don't think they're pro or con. I don't think they're trying to convince people. They're just explaining what the impact of a yes and a no vote is.
Okay, so I would ask that we inform the finance committee and they serve as a balance. I know they voted in positive, and they work with Cheryl, and that we come together with two vetted offers on Friday.
Okay, so how will they serve as a balance, and how will they vet, since they'd have to schedule a meeting this week?
Yes, they would. Yeah. So you'd have to reach out to them and they'd have to schedule a meeting with whoever could attend.
And for the purpose
the spirit of the law is obviously to give people a reasonable summary of both impacts. And it's good to have two sets of eyes, two sets of people. And as policy officials, I think the advisory, I think that we should include them.
I'm glad to send it to them for their review, but I don't know that we have time for them to meet, vet, and edit. But Jason, I feel like you haven't said anything, so I don't know if you've got anything you want to share.
Yeah, I want to commend Kate for finding this. I'd like to take credit for facilitating it, but can't. I'm really disappointed that we as a board didn't know about it or didn't remember or whatever. I think that the residents could have been a little bit more involved, and that's unfortunate, but it is where we're at. I'm hesitant to try to iterate on this. There's really not any time, right? So backing into this, it's a Friday meeting. It has to be written, right? It's not just going to be just made up, right? And I'm trying to think if I had to do it, how long it would take me a few days to feel good about it, to do some research, and then trying to meet and then trying to ask somebody to deliberate on it, provide feedback, ask questions, and then us to approve on Friday feels like a stretch. I do believe that we should just do the best we can with the time we have and go from there. I mean, we are working in in service to the residents. Kate is an excellent person to write one side, and Cheryl is also an excellent person to write the other. I don't think anything's stopping any committee from meeting and having a conversation and talking about it. But to make those individuals gates for this, I think is risky. So I would say I would be opposed to introducing those gates. I think we have to do the best we can for our last day of Friday for getting the ballots printed. So those are my thoughts.
Okay.
And for the record, I think I supported the law back then, but I support it now too. I think always giving voters a summary of yes and no, or pros and cons, whatever you'd like to call it, is a good practice. And I'm glad you found it. I'm glad you remembered it, Kate, and saw that. So.
Yeah, for the record, I'm all for it too. I just wish we'd known about it. So, if there's anything else that you remember from your prior time on the board, let us know.
I remember plenty, but I guess I need to be more direct. Okay.
Yeah, to be very clear, I don't think it's a matter of you being direct. You've never mentioned this provision ever to me or anybody in any meeting that we've had. So I don't think it's a matter of being clear. You've never flagged this. All right, Kate, what do you need from us? You need us to vote on designees? Do you need us to?
Yes, please. And then if you can call a meeting
or Friday
and let me know what time that would be, I will ask Kathy to post that.
I move to appoint Town Administrator Kate Hodges as the yes and Cheryl Garepi as the no for the 2.5 override ballot question.
Second.
Any discussion?
Is the language appropriate for the motion? Is that satisfactory?
Yes.
So my discussion is after we review that language on Friday, then it goes, it gets any changes that it may have to or not. And I know it takes at least, because we've had occasions where ballots have had to be changed. So it takes at least a few days to get, or more, to get the ballots back. I'm assuming that we should have council look at it after that with the changes to make sure that it's accurate or legally compliant.
We can. You said that I'm confused.
I prefer that council not write it, but reviewing it would be a great idea. Just because I think, Kate, you and Cheryl are good and more than capable of writing this.
I understand.
So the issue with having council review it but not write it is what happens if they find something they don't like and we're introducing cycles. If we're going to invest in council being the body, the approval body, we should introduce them early into the process to ensure our short schedule can be met, in my opinion.
Yeah, my suggestion would be, if we're going to have council take a look at it, Kate, when you and Cheryl have drafts Wednesday, Thursday, whatever, show them to them just to make sure we're legally compliant. We don't need their oratory or their writing. Let me just and then you can at least bring to us 2 drafts that were approved by council as written. And then, to Jason's point, we don't want to approve it on Friday, have council find something that we didn't know about on Monday, and then we have to go through this exercise again. So have them take a look at it before we meet on Friday, and then we'll have a council approved version. Yes, Alex.
So my point is that given the time that I've seen historically, there's still, if we do it that way with Friday and a little more time for, council's review and thoughtful, we still have plenty of time to print the ballots.
Great.
Even if we do it on Friday with a review afterwards, we could do it your way too.
Right, we're not.
It's that either way, you get into it back and forth. And what I'm trying to do in these lean times, our council's gone from 2019 or 18 or something, 40,000 to 200,000 this year.
Right. Hey, like we would have been done with this process had you flagged this for us a month ago.
I don't want to get into a debate on this because I frankly feel very marginalized, and I don't think I get listened to. In fact, I get ridiculed when I bring up history. And now we are learning that we're deemed to repeat it. In fact, as recently as the last meeting, you said, yes. I know we've been through this before, Alex. So I do have, my historical knowledge is valuable.
About what?
Here.
About this
I'm
issue?
telling you,
It's knowledge.
I'll tell you how I
I would
feel.
say it's
So-
valuable if you share it.
And it comes up, yes, when we talked about it constantly is an issue. So we need to just work collectively with the new perspective that Jason brings, and you've got some historical knowledge, I do too, that we can move forward on this. So I wasn't saying anything because I was just saying we need to just move this forward. And I think that's what we need to do. My preference, and I will vote to support this, but my preference would be that we would review it Friday, because there's still plenty of time, send it to council so you didn't have to get into this back and forth to save those dollars and go forward. But we have a meeting on the 18th. That still leaves enough time to
No, it
print it out.
doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Alex, you
Okay.
keep saying we have time to print, but we're the ones that are negotiating with the printers.
Okay,
It's-
and you
it's
probably got a
3
great deal on the
weeks.
printing, so I will. we'll
So
just
I will
go
say
with
we
it.
have a motion and a second on the floor on to have this done. Yes, Jason.
Yeah, what I heard Kate say is the last day for printing is Friday. That's the last day, period. So unless I misunderstood what last day meant, there is no Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Last
And there
day.
may be, right, and there may be another contract. I'm just going from past when we had to reprint ballots, so.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm just going from trusting our town administrator.
And I know Alex, you mentioned you had 9:30 in the emails when we talked about this meeting. So I want to be mindful of that. So there's a motion and a second to have Kate and Cheryl do the yes and no. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Ms. Turner,
Aye.
Mr. Allison.
Aye.
Mr. Kerrigan, aye.
Aye.
Can we get our calendars out to pick a time? I would like to do it in the morning on Friday, if at all possible, to
And-
give them all the time they need.
I would appreciate if we could run this by finance committee or include them, please.
The timing of the meeting?
Well, the time of the meeting and the review, so they could look at them since they are advisory to the budget.
Kate, can you ask Cheryl to run that? Just make sure they're looped in. Okay. So, what do you both have and Kate before noontime on Friday?
Mr. Chair, I'd prefer maybe a 9:30
9:30.
or earlier.
9:30 is fine by me. I don't think it'll be, and I'm assuming, Kate, once you have council approved language, you'll just email it to us. So we won't be seeing it for the first time in the meeting. So we'll have a chance. It should be relatively quick.
I'm hoping to get you all a draft by the end of the day today, and then it'll be the working draft, and then
Yeah.
you'll see a finalized council version closer to the meeting.
Sounds good. Alex, is 9:30 on Friday good for you for a half hour?
Yes, it is.
All right, Kate, please notice a 9:30 a.m. special select board meeting for Friday, April 7th.
Yep.
Zoom only.
Yes.
Good Friday.
Indeed. It's always a good Friday to have a select board meeting.
It is.
It's a good Friday joke. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn? Is
So moved.
there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Ms. Turner,
Aye.
Mr. Allison.
Aye.
Mr. Kerrigan, aye. Kate, thank you. Have a great rest of your day. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.